Welcome to Finance Dojo! We aim to be the best personal finance educational channel you'll ever need. Click that subscribe button and the notification bell right now so you won't miss out. Legendary Chinese recluse Zhu Yu noticed something odd about a mole drinking from a pond. He realized that a mole can only drink as much as its stomach can hold. The mole stays away from excesses because they make it hard for it to move. Contrary to humans, who frequently consume more than they need. We may not consume too much water, but we frequently purchase more material possessions than we require to survive. To keep us with other customers, consumerism is expensive. Many people are prepared to labor themselves into an early grave to amass extensions of themselves, since they tend to believe that as their possessions rise, so does their sense of self. The consumerist culture we currently live in, however, has a counter-movement that goes by the name of minimalism. Living simply and with only what they need is the philosophy of minimalism. Although it has been a lifestyle trend for a while now, minimalism is nothing new. Many sages and philosophers have discovered freedom in simplicity and having few possessions. They realize that material possessions do not define us and that the desire for material items keeps us from completely appreciating life. This video discusses the philosophical foundations of minimalism and explains why having the ability to let go is riches and why more is less and less is more. Minimalism can be understood in different ways. It entails limiting our possessions to the absolute necessities, clearing up clutter, and not pushing ourselves too much. First, there is extreme asceticism, which aims to do less than the bare minimum. For example, Prince Siddhartha Gautama lived as an ascetic and only consumed 1 grain of rice every day, hardly maintaining any flesh on his bones. Consuming less than one needs to be highly minimalist action because it rarely necessitates consumption. Such a lifestyle entails giving up belongings and results in a life of simplicity. In the case of severe ascetics, less is less, which results in self-destruction. According to Siddhartha Gautama, body punishment won't result in enlightenment. Thus, he gave up asceticism before becoming the Buddha. Second, there is a popular wealthy form of minimalism that focuses on getting rid of unnecessary, often cheap things while keeping a few very expensive things. For example, a $2 million minimalist living room. In this case, minimalism is used to show how rich we are, since the lack of cheap old things makes the expensive things we do have stand out more. Given that it still focuses on status and material possessions and that it costs a lot of money to acquire and maintain this lifestyle, we may view it as a sophisticated kind of consumerism. This kind of attitude takes away from the real power of minimalist living, which is that we can be happy or content with a small number of things and not because of our status or wealth. It's hard to agree with this idea when the consumerist culture we live in says that less is less and more is more. This shows how we value social status. People's social status isn't based on how good they are or how spiritual they are, but on the car they drive, the house they live in, the furniture they own, and the clothes they wear. Our position in the dominance hierarchy seems to depend on what we have. People who don't believe in these sacred elements are blasphemers in a society where holiness means wealth, church means shopping mall, and prayer means consumption. However, the benefits of simple living can often exceed the negatives. Emperor Yao had so much respect for the recluse Zhu Yu that he was willing to give up on his throne. Zhu Yu, who lived alone and quietly by the river, refused. He told the emperor he didn't need all under heaven and said, when the tailor bird builds her nest in the deep wood, she only uses one branch. In an ancient Chinese text, the Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi tells the story of Zhu Yu. The recluse who lives in poverty is given a whole empire to run. But according to the tale, he decided to live alone as a hermit. Zhu Yu probably knew that having power means having a lot of responsibilities and that running an empire won't let him live simple, quiet life. The less you have, the less you can lose, and the less you worry. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, and I quote, "If you overvalue things, people will start to steal them. Keep your valuables hidden if you don't want people to be excessively jealous." End quote. Many things require protection. Rich individuals who appear to be hiding behind walls and gates in gated communities frequently live in fear. By having fewer possessions, we save time and effort. We don't need to worry about pricey things because they don't distract us. We don't have to own the things we enjoy to find happiness in the world. Why do we need a 6-bedroom mansion when we can live cheaply in a tiny home and make use of nature without paying anything? When Henry David Thoreau decided to settle in a cabin in the woods close to Walden Pond, he must have believed the same thing. Thoreau made a conscious decision to live simply because he thought doing so would help him grow spiritually. Equanimity is made possible by living simply. We don't have to work as hard and may enjoy life more when living expenditures are modest. Isn't that what freedom is all about? So what exactly do we need? Where can a minimalist find the ideal balance between austerity and consumerism? Philosophers have influenced minimalist living in many ways throughout history. For example, Diogenes the Cynic lived in a barrel and had no possessions. According to the legend, he had a drinking cup that he allegedly threw aside after noticing a child drinking from his hands and said, "A child has beaten me in plainness of living." Diogenes had no self-consciousness and didn't care what people thought of him. He was invincible because he was detached from material possessions and other people's opinions. Epicurus created a more useful formula for minimalist life for individuals who don't wish to live on the streets in a barrel. Epicurus established a hierarchy of needs that outlines which desires we should and we shouldn't pursue. We should concentrate on basic needs like food, shelter, and human connection. These basic needs are simple to satisfy and have inherent boundaries. He advised us to steer clear of vain and empty aspirations for things like fame, money, and power. Because these ones had no natural limit, he saw them as needless, abnormal, and unsatisfiable. Epicurus advises us to quit worrying about what we don't have and to be grateful for what we do have. Or as he said, don't ruin what you have by desiring what you don't have. Remember that what you now have was once something you only hoped for. There's great joy in having little, unlike others who spend to infinity, trading their life to increase their self-esteem in a society where material determines our value. For a minimalist, this is the definition of a miserable life. In minimalism, people give up traditional ideas of wealth and status, knowing that true wealth comes from within and that social status is a useless luxury that is hard to get, easy to lose, and out of our control. Minimalists choose to live simply because they know that being able to let go of material things is real wealth and that the joy of a simple, easy life comes from being able to do that. They see minimalism as the pinnacle of sophistication if we live simply and carefully. Thoreau said, "I am sure, both by faith and experience, that to maintain oneself in this world is not a hardship but a hobby." As always, this video is for educational purposes only and not financial advice. You should always do your own research and speak to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.